It's about 8:05, so welcome everyone, and thank you for joining and or watching if you're watching at a later time. I hope everyone's having a great week. It's a holiday week for those of us in the U.S. So I wanted to start just by going into that a little bit. I know last week I briefly mentioned about having a plan in advance will kind of help you so that you're not really worried about a holiday and having a holiday throwing off the rest of your plan. So I figured to start, I'll kind of go into what my plan is again. Um, Thanksgiving morning, I'm just going to do a my normal breakfast, nothing different there. And then prior to, well, actually, right after breakfast, I'll probably go and do a quick workout. My normal workout that I would normally do on a Wednesday evening, I'll probably be doing on Thursday morning. And then I'll be leaving and having lunch out. I'm not really going to worry about the macros. I'm not really worried about tracking it too much. I'll still track my breakfast and maybe a little bit of the lunch just so I keep my streak going. I'm aiming for an entire year of days tracked in MyFitnessPal, so I will have some things in there, but I'm not really stressed over getting it exact. And then I will go to dinner for Thanksgiving, and I will enjoy myself. I'm not going to pig out. I'm not going to have like 4 slices of pumpkin pie, but I will have probably about 2 plates worth of food. A little bit of everything here and there, and then I'll just enjoy myself, probably drink a little too much wine. Not too much because I am going to be up early the next morning. But that's my plan. I'm probably not going to step on the scale till Monday after that, just so I don't want it to mess with my head. If that's your plan too, and you have a weigh-in due Saturday or Sunday, just drop me a note in advance and say, hey, I'm not going to weigh in. It's Thanksgiving. That way I know, and I don't need to say, hey, did you miss an update? Or that way I don't need to ask if you were planning on skipping. So if you are going to plan on skipping a weigh-in this week, just let me know in advance, please. Perfectly okay with that. I actually would encourage it, especially if the scale can kind of demotivate you. But don't let all that kind of damper your holiday. Please have a great time and enjoy yourselves and enjoy the people you're spending it with. So with that said, I always bring that type of stuff up to kind of spur discussion in the groups. So the one thing you could try to do, depending on how the weather is for you, it's like I'm in Pittsburgh and it's like almost 70 degrees Fahrenheit today, but it's supposed to snow on Thursday for Thanksgiving. But after you've eaten a lot of food, most people go to sleep. And that's because you've probably eaten a lot of carbs and a lot of food in general that makes most people sleepy. But a nice brisk walk after eating that much food can really aid with your digestion and will really help you feel better the next day. So that's what I'm going to try to do is get a nice brisk walk. Not too much because it's probably going to be cold, but just something to help move around, get the food moving around, and help with the digestion process. So if you're able to, I'd recommend you do that as well. So with that said, if you have some ideas for yourself, but you need some assistance or you need some help getting a plan started, please do post them in group, and as a groups we can discuss how best to handle a holiday or any specifics you need some suggestions on, and we can all go from there. So, and like if you're just coming in now, I do have the questions and answer portions turned on. There weren't any questions submitted this week in advance. So I'm just kind of covering some things I wanted to talk about in relation to the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday, and then any questions that come in. So please submit them if you have them. And I do have one topic I do want to talk about, though. It's technically 2 topics, but they're linked together. It's the twin topics of sleep and stress management. Those two, we really don't talk about them too much in the class itself, and I'm thinking I should probably change that to have them be a little bit earlier on, because stress and sleep management are 2 of the keystones of any healthy lifestyle, any lifestyle changes, and they're incredibly important, more so than general health when you're trying to lose weight. So fixing your sleep, if you have troubled sleep, is one of the greatest investments you can make in your health and will help you towards all of your goals, not just in fat loss, but that could be something that's kind of holding you back. Some of the commonly recommended things, and I think they're great recommendations to help with your sleep, is kind of wind down before you're ready to go to bed. That means no TV, no electronics, no bright lights in your face right before bed. So I usually use that opportunity to read, maybe listen to some soothing music, something like that, just to kind of wind down and not have your brain going full throttle all the time. Another thing that I recommend and take myself is melatonin. It's not like a supplement. It's a supplement and it's supplementary, but it's a natural hormone your body produces based on your circadian rhythm. And what that does is it's a hormonal secretion in your brain that basically prepares your body to go to sleep. Now, you can take it naturally. It's not addictive to have it. It's basically just kind of getting you to sleep quicker. I know when I don't usually have any melatonin, my brain is racing like a million miles a minute. I have a bunch of things going on I'm thinking about, and I can't just shut my brain off. Uh, Having a bunch of bright lights or having a lot of light in your room actually reduces your melatonin production at bedtime, even if your circadian rhythm is saying, hey, this is when I normally go to sleep. I'm going to start making melatonin. So things like having too much light in your room, that actually can shut down your melatonin production and keep you awake longer. So other than kind of avoiding the computer and the TV like right before bed, and you may want to look at the room you're sleeping in and see if there's anything you can do to make it darker. So a really dark room and some melatonin before bed, and maybe some light reading, something like that to kind of just calm you down. Maybe some meditation exercises, work on just breathing to kind of, slowly taper your day off. It's not, your body's not really ready to go from like 100% on all the time to immediately sitting down in bed and then immediately going to sleep. So that's one thing you can try to do to help with your sleep. And again, I think that's something that is a point of discussion that can be discussed as a group as to how you're doing with your sleep, what you can add or change with your bedtime routine to kind of improve the quality of that sleep, because it's about getting good quality sleep and getting enough good quality sleep. And there are some apps out there that come with your phone, or some fitness trackers like a Body Media or a Jawbone. They can help you kind of track your sleep if you want to do that. But you know when you're getting enough sleep or not. You really don't need some device to tell you, unless you think it will help you kind of pinpoint, what's causing your sleep problems, and if there's like a pattern you can look at. So that may be helpful in that regard. So that covers the different ways sleeping aids that can help you. Also, if it's too noisy in your environment, you may want to look at earplugs. I live near a major road, so there's a lot of road noise. I want to say from like 9 p.m. to like midnight, and I go to bed at like 9:30 every night because I'm up at 5. So from 9 to midnight, it's pretty noisy. So I sleep with earplugs just so that I can just reach that state of calm and kind of ease into sleep, rather than like fighting sleep when the noises outside could wake me up. So, so with that said, I'm going to kind of go on a tangent to stress. And we all know, or hope we would know by now, that willpower, when it comes to making changes in your life, be it towards diet or being healthier or exercise, willpower is a finite resource. It's not unlimited. It's not going to be something you can just rely on entirely. That's why you want to use the limited amount of willpower you have to build habits that operate in the background. So there's something you don't need to think about, like brushing your teeth. So stress is the enemy of willpower. Now, the human body is kind of built to deal with stresses from the times when we were running from animals that were our predators. So stress itself isn't the problem. It's really how we handle that stress. And our perception of that stress is more important than handling the stress itself. It's been shown through numerous studies that how you handle your stress is more important than the amount of stress you have. So if you take two people that are in the same stressful job with the same stressful home situation, and one of them feels like, I'm going to crack, this is too much stress, I can't take this, I'm going to have a heart attack, it's likely that they will. You take the same person who says, this is awesome, life is busy, but I'm in my prime, I can handle this, I'm good to go. They have the same stresses, but their perceptions are entirely different. And those perceptions drive how their body reacts to it at the chemical and hormonal level. So how does that tie in with sleep is that when you do not get enough sleep or enough restful sleep, there's a change in your prefrontal cortex. That's the part of your brain in the front of your brain. And that's where your personality is. And that's also called the executive decision-making portion. And what that does is that's where your long-term planning comes into play, where you have goals that are important to you internally. The prefrontal cortex is how you organize all that information. And when you're faced with decisions, how you're able to take those internal goals and execute the plan based as how things happen to you on a day-to-day basis. So generally what happens is if you perceive that you're under how your stress is impacting you and it's negatively, that can affect your sleep, as well as the lack of sleep can affect your ability to handle that stress. So it's kind of like a tug of war almost. Both of those things, bad sleep can cause stress, and stress can cause bad sleep. And both of those things sap away at the strength of your prefrontal cortex to take over and make sure you're sticking to what's important, your goals. And I don't mean just goals in the context of health and fat loss and exercise. I'm talking goals related to everything. Hunger, it comes into play there too, where basically once you're already hungry, we've kind of joked about the term hangry before, where that's why you don't go grocery shopping when you're hungry, because at that point your prefrontal cortex is done. You've kind of sapped all the energy you have there, and you're just going off of the rest of your brain that wants you to be fed. Logic be damned. So that's why that's important to bring up. So what normally happens is when you have a craving for something, your brain releases the hormone dopamine. And that's like a pleasure reward hormone saying, hey, if you have this cupcake, you're going to feel really good. So you think, I don't want a cupcake. I'm trying to, eat a little bit healthier. I didn't really plan for it. It's not really going to help me right now. I'd just rather not. Then your brain says, I think you really want that cupcake. So I'm going to release some stress hormones like cortisol. So that pretty much tells you that I'm going to need to eat this cupcake or I'm going to die. Now, normally what happens is your prefrontal cortex steps in and says, no, you have goals here, and that cupcake isn't really helping you with that goal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn down the dopamine, and I'm going to turn down all the stress hormones, and I'm going to turn them off, and the craving effectively stops. What happens is if you're not getting enough sleep, this step either doesn't happen or it doesn't happen powerfully or quickly enough to make a difference, and you're basically give into whatever craving you have, regardless of how well you've planned and how much willpower you have. That willpower is going to get drained really quickly. It's kind of like on your cell phone when it says 10%, it's never really 10%. It just goes basically from 10% to zero right away and your phone shuts off. Same thing there. Once that power of your prefrontal cortex is drained from lack of sleep and dealing with the rest of your stresses in your day, and you start getting those dopamine hits and the stress hormones, you're done. So that is why I believe that getting enough restful sleep is important, so that the logic and plans you've made and all of your goals, like I said, regardless of what they're for in your life, that can kind of take over and ratchet all your hormones down for you to be in control. That's, like I said, that's your executive decision-making section of your brain. And as long as you can exercise that part of your brain, then you'll be able to have a little bit more control as to what you want to do versus what your body is making you do by releasing hormones. So that kind of acts as like a stop lever to say, we're going to ratchet these down. That's not what we want. The other thing that's interesting that I wanted to mention is being aware of this existing can help you get better control of it. And the example that I have is that, say that's you go to the mall and there's all these smells like expensive coffees or a cake shop, and all these smells are intermingling at the mall when you walk around. It's like that for a reason. The people that are trying to get you to buy those products, they realize that when you are hit by all those smells, it's going to have that craving oriented dopamine release in your brain. So if you are aware the fact that when those smells hit you, it's going to cause your cravings and they're trying to draw you in to buy whatever they're selling, then the amount of dopamine that's going to be released may be reduced if you're simply aware of that fact going into it. So being cognizant of the fact that the smells are causing you to have a craving, and that's what the people selling the food is intending, that it may be of reduced effect. I found that interesting, so I thought I would share it with you. So that's all that I had for today. Like I said, these topics are very, very in-depth and broad. I just wanted to give a general overview. I'm hoping some of you have some questions that we can kind of dig in a little bit. Please feel free to submit them through the group discussion and we can go from there. And like I mentioned, I'm for those of you in the US, I'm looking forward to seeing what your plans are for this week. Please post them. Please post if you need help. Please post if you don't need help. It would just be interesting to see what everyone else plans to do if you haven't already. To those of you in not in the U.S., I don't think we have any Canadians. I'm sorry I'm incorrect in that, or I probably should have brought that up around Canadian Thanksgiving. I have a few friends that are Canadians outside of Photocracy, and they're talking to me about that and their plans. So that kind of helped getting me in the mindset. But yeah, please post what your plans are, and if you are celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope you have a great time and enjoy the holiday with your friends and family. And like I said, please do, if you think that weighing in the day after a major holiday whose general purpose is to eat a lot of food will cause you worry, please don't weigh in this week. Just drop me a note in advance so that when I go to check the updates on Sunday, I'm not wondering what you decided to do or just forgot. So let me go from there. And let me check right now and see if there's any questions submitted. And if there are, I'll answer them. And if not, we'll go from there. All right, I'm not seeing any. Let me check one more place. If my voice seems a little bit different, it's because I've been battling a cold here. It seems like everyone in my family's trading colds back and forth, and my throat's been really scratchy. So I don't normally sound like this if you haven't noticed. All right, I do not see any questions asked in Photocracy, and I don't see any on the sidebar. So I'm just going to say, have a good night, everyone. And I always say this, but I'm going to keep saying it. Is if I close the Hangout and you come up with a question, please ask it, and I will do my best to either answer it or I'll try to include it in next week. So everyone have a great week. If you're celebrating Thanksgiving, have a great and safe holiday, and I will talk to everyone soon. Have a good night.